What's up, Ichi here. In this video, we're going to talk about how you can rent out your home. Let's jump right in. Now, as a homeowner, there are tons of costs with owning a home. These costs include your mortgage payments, condo fees, property taxes, and insurance. Most of the time, the rent that we collect won't even cover all of these aforementioned costs. So it's extremely important that we find quality tenants that pay on time. How do we do that? Well, we must properly vet our tenants. The two most important things that we look for are credit and income. In terms of credit, all applicants must submit a full Equifax credit report. And the great thing about this is we can actually see all of their balances of their credit cards and any loans, such as line of credits. We can take a look at their payment history and their balances. We can also, via this Equifax credit report, see their previous places of residence. So it's a great way to vet our tenants' credit. On top of that, we can run a credit score check on them as well. Typically, we like to see a credit score of over 700. Additionally, in terms of income, we want to see a debt service ratio of no more than 40%. This means that rent is no higher than 40% of the tenant's combined after-tax income. Now, with the Equifax credit report, we can actually run an additional credit check on them. So it's kind of hard to create a fraudulent document there. However, I've had people in the past send me fraudulent documents in terms of their employment letter and pay slips. So how can we ensure that tenants are actually giving us real documents? Well, the first thing we can do is call a direct supervisor or manager that works with their company that can directly verify the tenant's employment and income. Number two, we can make sure that the pay slips actually match the employment and the salary on that employment letter. And finally, if we're still not sure, we can request bank statements to ensure that pay slips match debits on the bank statement. Additionally, we can use third-party services like LinkedIn to make sure that, yes, these people actually work at these companies. Now, sometimes tenants don't want to send bank statements because they think it's a violation of their privacy, which is totally fair. However, we as landlords must do our due diligence and make sure that pay is actually hitting their bank account. If they refuse, I think it's a bit of a red flag, but to get around that, we can ask them to black out any other sensitive data so that we can actually see pay hitting their bank statements. I think this is a good solution for both parties. Also, we can verify with previous landlords in regards to the quality of the tenant. We can verify things such as whether they were clean, whether they caused any significant damage, whether they paid rent on time, and why they're vacating their current place of residence, and ensure that things match up. Now, you might be thinking, well, can't they just give you a random phone number of a friend of theirs and have them pretend to be a landlord? Well, no, because we as realtors actually have a database that can match owners with said property. So we can verify and cross-reference that the landlord that they gave us actually owns the property that they said they lived in. Finally, after checking credit, income, and previous landlords, if we're still not sure and we're on the fence, another option available to landlords is to do an interview and actually interview the tenants. This is a great way because we get to meet our tenants in person and really get our gut and our intuition to come into play. And sometimes that's a great way to make sure that we are getting the right people into our home. Remember, this is an emotional and a logical decision. Okay, now let's talk logistics. How do we actually find quality tenants? Well, the first way is we can list our home off market on Facebook, Kijiji, wherever, and find a tenant ourselves. This way we can completely avoid the realtor fees. The second way is to find a realtor to list it for you. He or she will be able to post your home on MLS, and this will get you the maximum amount of exposure for your home. Your house will be able to be seen on all third-party apps like condo.ca, realtor.ca, and it'll be on MLS. It'll have the most amount of eyes looking at it. Now, your realtor doesn't just list the house. Your realtor will also do a comparative market analysis. The realtor will have data in terms of houses that are similar that have been leased in the past X amount of days, so we'll be able to determine accurately what the market rate for rent of your house should be. On top of that, your realtor will vet the client based on the aforementioned methods, and also they'll be responsible for taking photos, videos, and marketing your house for lease. The cost of hiring a realtor to list your house for rent is half of 1 month's rent on the sell side. That'll be your realtor, and on top of that, it'll be another half of 1 month's rent on the buy side, and that'll be the realtor who eventually brings the tenant. So the total cost will be 1 month's rent. Now remember, prior to posting your house on the market, it's best if we get it cleaned and staged if possible, so that it's looking its best when it does hit the market. If there are tenants currently occupying your house, it's best to wait for them to leave and then clean it and then take photos. This will make sure that our house will be looking good when it hits the market. Okay, so once that's all done, our house is on the market, we just sit back and wait until offers come through our door. Now, in this crazy hot rental market, properly priced rental units do not stay on the market for very long. Your realtor will be able to negotiate for you. They'll try to negotiate more rent, more deposit up front, and a more flexible closing date that will benefit you. Once an offer has been accepted, the tenant will have 24 hours to pay the deposit, not to us directly, but to the listing brokerage's trust account, who will hold that deposit money in trust until closing. Now, before closing, we will ensure that the tenant has set up utilities, tenant's insurance, and provided post-dated checks. On the day of closing, we'll collect a key deposit and we'll give the keys to the tenant. After closing, that's when the deposit money will be paid from the listing brokerage's trust account to us, the landlord. Awesome, our place has closed. Now every month we can collect rent, which should offset some of our costs. Additionally, most leases are for 1 year, which means after that 1 year period, the lease automatically converts to month. If the tenant wants to stay longer, we can negotiate another term. Now, if they don't want to stay, they'll have to give us 60 days notice to vacate the unit. Now, rent can only be increased after the 1 year term, and it can only be increased once per year. If the building that we own was first occupied before November 15th of 2018, rent control applies in 2023. That means the maximum amount of rent increase we can give the tenant is 2.5%. If our house that we own was built and occupied after November 15th, 2018, there is no rent control, which means theoretically there is no cap to how much we can increase rent. Now, keep in mind that might be a good thing, but if we increase rent too much, our tenants will just leave and we will have to do this whole process again, pay another month of realtor fees, and potentially have our unit sit vacant for another month, which could be very costly. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you need any help renting out your home, feel free to reach out. All of my information is at the bottom of this video. Anyways, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.